Donald Trump cracks down on immigration during his first week in office. Many are concerned on the effects his executive orders could have on a local level.
Monday, Trump signed executive orders giving the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency greater ability to conduct enforcement actions. In the First Alert update, Victoria Frazier spoke with legal experts, taking a closer look at the situation.
Attorneys are working with families to address their concerns on mass deportation efforts. Wisconsin immigration attorney John Cizzini says it's important for people to remain calm and understand their rights.
I understand anxiety, and there should be anxiety, but there are still laws that the government has to follow. For example, an ICE officer can't deport you. Only an immigration judge can.
He says while the reversal of immigration policies under the Trump administration can be concerning, there are certain cases that will be targeted.
Those that are in high priority right now are going to be those individuals who have a criminal record and or have a previous order of deportation.
Now that schools are no longer classified as a sensitive location, that's also a big concern for parents. Green Bay Area Public School District Board policy mentions interviews with students shall be made in collaboration with the building principal or administrative designee and law enforcement officer. A statement from the Green Bay Area Public School District says, quote, if a government agency or law enforcement requests access to a student, this will be conducted in accordance with Board Policy 445. Student interviews with non-school personnel and state and federal law. The policy states that parents and guardians will be notified. End quote. Attorney Jeffrey Lacey in Green Bay says it's important for schools to have a plan in case a parent is arrested.
We're asking schools to, be prepared, have, additional contact information, have, essentially a disaster plan. No different than if you had, a tornado or a fire or something where there were mass disruptions to the daily existence in your community.
Attorneys say to make sure that your documents are up to date and available on site. In Green Bay, Victoria Frazier, Action 2 News.